Welcome, sixth graders! This is my second time recording this, so I might not be as funny. Who knows? We'll see. I started off and then I realized I was confusing people, so I stopped. And now I'm recording again. And this is the wonderful thing about filming, is that I can do it as many times as I need. Yeah. Alright, so far we have been learning all about present perfect. Why? Because it's hard. It really is. It's one of the hardest things to learn. And lucky for you, the quarantine happened right now. So because there is a quarantine going on, you get to learn about present perfect on your own. You could ask your parents, maybe they speak English. But even if they speak English, they probably still don't understand present perfect. It's hard. So if your parents don't speak English and they can't help you, there's Google. Good luck. Or my videos. That's why I'm spending so much time on present perfect, because I want to teach you how to use this right. And you might as well learn it now, because you're also going to learn it next year. Wait, that doesn't make sense, but whatever. So you are going to learn it next year, but we're going to get into more detail, because we haven't yet. Anyways, whatever. So last week we learned about present perfect. We learned about how to build present perfect, how to structure it. You guys know this already. I'm getting my spray bottle ready just in case. If you were paying attention. Right, Zazu? Talking to you, Christoph. I always like to spray him. Anyways, if you were paying attention, you learned that to make a present perfect sentence, for example, I play tennis. No, that's not present perfect. That is, anybody? Hands down. And go! Oh, naughty, what is it? That's right. This is present simple. This is what you learned in, I don't know, second grade, third grade, whatever. So I play tennis. How do we turn that into present perfect, the stuff behind me? You have to use have and has. Which one do I use? I don't know, Mr. P. I'm so confused. Okay, I'll answer that. If you have I, we, you, they, or more than one person, you use have. I have, you have, we have. If it's he, she, it, or just one thing, person, then it's has. That's how you know the difference between the two. We talked about this last week. Anyways, so I have, and then we turn the play into the past participle as a harmadik shor. So the third one, let's see here. I'm looking at it. Play is a regular verb. There it is. Play, played, played. So it's easy because play is a regular verb. It's not one of those mean irregular verbs. So play, played, played, right? It's not like pay, fizet, which is paid, but also paid. Or like eat, which is eaten. Anyways, whatever. So I have played tennis. This is how I turn I play tennis into present perfect. I have played tennis. What do these mean? That's really what we're getting at today. Why do we use present perfect? What is the point? When do we use it? We're going to get there. So, the difference between saying I play tennis and I have played tennis is I play tennis means that I play it all the time. Autolanoshan, as a routine. I usually do this. I play tennis because I'm a tennis player. I have played tennis doesn't mean that I'm a tennis player. It could. But usually it means that sometime in my life, I have played tennis. So when I say I have played tennis, it means that at some time in my life, it doesn't matter when, it could have been 10 years ago, it could have been just yesterday. But it means that I have played it before, sometime in my life. Does it mean that I'm a tennis player? No. Usually if somebody says I have played tennis, it doesn't mean that they are a tennis player. It doesn't mean that they usually play it, because they would say, oh, I play tennis, right? If they're a tennis player, that's what they'll say. So, let's go to the board. Thank you. I need to be like, y'all, okay. I don't know if you guys ever have the Wheel of Fortune. It's an old show. It's probably like 50 years old. I don't know. and there's like this woman in there, Vanna White. I remember watching this when I was a kid, like 70 years ago. And I remember like Pat Sajak was the host. He was this guy, and he looks like a normal guy. And then Vanna White was just the typical, beautiful woman. And her whole job, her whole life has been to turn these letters on the show. If you know the show, you know what I'm talking about. But basically, she has done nothing with her life. Like, her whole job is to look pretty and just stand there. And whenever somebody says, I'd like to buy a vowel, let me have an E. And then she just goes over there and turns the E. I feel like Vanna White right now. I feel like all I'm doing right now is showing you the board because I'm not writing right now. Anyways, long tangent, moving back to the subject at hand. So, Ever Never. The weird thing is she never gets older. Like, I remember 70 years ago, she looks the same as she does right now. What is she doing? I think she's like eating children or something. She has to, because how can somebody go that long without changing? I do, because I'm 98 and I still look this good. Eat children. Wait, no, don't, no, this was terrible. God, why am I recording this? Okay, anyways, so, Ever Never. Here's a good example. I have given dry red wine. What does that mean? It means that sometime in my life, at some point, I have given, given, dry red wine. See, and so, yes, I have. I have given dry red wine. I have given it a lot. See, I have given dry red wine several times. This is why I say I have given dry red wine, because I don't just do this all the time, but I have given it to people. You can also use it with never, so ever, never. I have never given dry red wine. If you have never given somebody dry red wine, get out of my class. But no, you might not have given dry red wine. Maybe it was your parents that gave dry red wine. That is fine, because it's dry red wine. Anyways, notice how you put never in there. So never and ever imply, big word there, they mean that at some point in your life, it doesn't matter when, sometime, once in your life, notice how here we have the never, but there is no ever. I saw this on a few of the mistakes that you guys did last week. If you add ever in there, it messes it up because it's not ever. You only use ever when you're asking the question. But in the sentence, when I'm making this kind of affirmative sentence, I do not, when I give a sentence, I do not use ever. So you don't say, I have ever given dry red wine. That's really weird. No. The ever is understood. We know that it's there. We don't need to say it. It's weird if you say it. But I have never given dry red wine. That is important to say. So that's just another, I already mentioned this, the ever and never thing. But next up, so we use present perfect for ever and never. We also use present perfect for just. We talked about this. Just does not mean csak. In this case, it means éppen most. So, I've just given dry red wine to Mr. B. Well, thank you. Oh, that's so nice. And that is exactly how it should be done. Both. You should use the sentence this way, and you should give Mr. B some dry red wine. Anyways, so I have just given dry red wine to Mr. B. Notice how there is a just. Maybe you did this last week. I don't know why. Maybe because you felt sorry for Mr. B, because he has to film all the videos now, instead of listening to all of you talk and constantly talk and interrupt me and throw things at each other and stick apples in my radiator. Anyways, so instead, I get to film all this stuff and then type all this in nice peace and quiet. But maybe you felt like you needed to give me some dry red wine. So you gave me some dry red wine. Maybe it just appeared. I opened my door and there's dry red wine. Oh, wow, thank you. Okay, so I've just given dry red wine to Mr. B. Notice I use the short form, I have. Remember, we talked about how confusing it is to use the short form with the has. Because you can't do that with I, obviously, but if you said she has given, she's given, that's weird because all of a sudden it looks like she is given, but it's not. It's she has given. The way you know is by looking at this. If this is in the third form, past participle, or if it's a regular verb, it's also in past tense. So like play, played. She's played tennis. That is, she has played tennis. The way you know it's not is because play is not just play, it's played. She has played tennis. Now, I've just given dry red wine to Mr. B. So, this is just. What just is actually doing is this right here. A previous, which also means past, a previous action with a present result. What the heck does that mean? Valami történt múlt időben. Bármikor, nem számít, hogy mikor, de történt múlt időben. És most tartozik a jelenben. Hogy valami történt a múlt időben, most tartozik. That's what this means. It means that something happened in the past, but it affects, not effects, affects the present. If you don't know the difference between the two, look it up. So, maybe Siri will work. I know last time it didn't work, so let's try it out. I don't know if it was in your video, but one of the videos I tried to use Siri and it just, no. What is the difference between affect and effect?
I found this on the web.
Ooh, and there it is. Some answers for us. So, if you want to find out the difference between affect and effect, try out Siri. If you don't have an Apple phone, shame on you. No, I'm not trying to promote Apple. They don't pay me anything, although they should. Maybe Samsung can do the same. Is there a Siri for Samsung? I don't know. Maybe it's called like Simi or something, like Sammy? Sammy? Ooh, that makes sense. Or Sungi. That's weird. So whatever. Moving on. It is a previous action with a present result. So, I've given Mr. B some dry red wine. Now, why is this in present perfect? I've given Mr. B some dry red wine. Well, here we have, I have given. That's the same sentence, right? I have given dry red wine. Now, if we continue this sentence, I have given Mr. B some dry red wine, which is why I have a 5 in his class. Oh, see, this was the past action that you gave Mr. B some dry red wine. And because of this, the present result is you have a 5 in my class. That won't work, by the way. Several of you have given me dry red wine, and you still get 3s. I know. But you can try. Who knows? Maybe I'll change next year. I won't change. You're still getting a 2 or a 3. But I will love the wine. Okay, so this is how this works. Previous action, present result. I have given Mr. B some dry red wine, which is why I have a 5 in his class. The past action with a present result. This is the hardest one to figure out. And, well, this is the hardest one to figure out. I'm telling you right now, this is going to be the toughest thing to figure out. This is also why we use just, because I've just given Mr. B some dry red wine. That was a past action that has a present result. What is the present result? Well, that's hard to figure out. Here, I've just given dry red wine to Mr. B. Maybe the present result is that you guys were talking about what other presents you wanted to give me. And y'all are like, I don't know. What can we give Mr. B? I don't know. What does he like? Oh, wait a minute. I remember. He always likes to include something in the tests. What is it? What does he always talk about? What does he always talk about? I don't know. Here's where we use the example. I've just given him some dry red wine. Oh, so then he doesn't need any more dry red wine, right? See, the present result is that we are figuring out what to give Mr. B. Somebody already gave me some dry red wine. So maybe that implies, that means that we don't need to give Mr. B some dry red wine. And then Mr. B will pop out, hey, I can always use more wine. And then you guys are like, oh, okay, I guess we should go do that. God, if this isn't subtle hints, yeah, it's not. This isn't subtle at all. This is called direct hinting. I'm not even hinting. I'm just telling you what to do. It's terrible. God, I feel like I'm selling my soul. Whatever. So, dry red wine. Moving on. The next thing I want to talk about is how do we determine the difference between present perfect and past simple? Ooh, now this is tough. So, how do we determine the difference between present perfect and past simple? Well, let's use these examples, okay? If we're talking about present perfect, we use this for unfinished timed words. So you guys understand the reasons to use present perfect. Now what I'm going to show you is how do we know when to use it. So these are the reasons. Now when do we use this versus past simple? Unfinished time words. So let's, I don't want to erase this, but maybe I will. So that way you can see this. Yeah. I'm going to erase it. No, I'm not. There's a lot of space. I'm going to write underneath there. So, the first time, as I drop my pen, is for so, present perfect. Ooh, blue. Let's make it perfect. Ha ha ha. See, I'm wasting your time. Present. Perfect. I saved you time by abbreviating these. Versus. Dun, dun, dun. It is the title match. Past. Simple. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, so whatever. So this is the match right now. We're having this present perfect versus past simple battle. And the first thing we know, we use present perfect for unfinished time words. What the heck are these? Unfinished time words, there you go, are, yeah, you can read that too. That actually is big enough and dark enough to read. So, unfinished time words are words like, let's see if green shows up. We'll try green. I don't know if you'll see it, but we'll check it out. Words like, up until now, obviously. Today. Probably could have written this earlier, but I didn't. So, today is an unfinished time word. I have given Mr. B dry red wine today. So, that is an unfinished time word. You could also say it with like never. I've never given. Well, no, I don't want to say that. So, today, it's still going on, is the point of an unfinished time word. So, like, today is still going on. I've written a book today. Wow, how did you do that? Well, I worked very quickly and typed super fast. You can also say this, that is also an unfinished time word. So if I have this something, it could be this week, this month. Can you see that? It's in green. Yeah, you can see it. So this week, this month, this year, those are unfinished because they are going on. And that's the key. This is still going on. So, anytime we have An unfinished time word, it's going to be present perfect. You use past simple when you have finished time words. Let me see if this pen works. So finished time words are going to be like, I'm going to write all this down for you. Finished time words. Notice I said finished, not finish. It's not from Finland. It is words that are done. Finished time words. So what is a finished time word? Well, a finished time word is last. Well, let's start with the first one. Obviously, yesterday is a finished time word. Why is it finished? Because it happened already. Yesterday, today. Today is unfinished. Yesterday is finished. There you go. And you also have last is an unfinished. So like if I said last week, last month, last year, those are all finished time words. So when do we use these? Well, a finished time word is like last week. I can't say I have been fishing last week. Oh, basush. Darn it, that was a present perfect continuous. If you were watching Netflix, I would say hit the go back 10 seconds thing, and then I will try to redo it. So whatever. I can't pause it and re-edit it, so scratch that. You can't say something like, I have eaten an apple last week. That's weird. I ate an apple last week. That's all you got to say. I have eaten an apple last week. No. Now, you could say, I have eaten an apple this week. That's totally fine. You can say that. I have eaten an apple this week. Great. Good for you. But you can't say, I have eaten an apple last week. You would just say, I ate an apple last week. Just like you could say today and yesterday. I have eaten an apple today. I have eaten an apple today. Yes, that happened. And today is still going on. Which is why previous action with the present result. We can use present perfect because of this rule right here. I have eaten an apple today. Because today is still going on. And it has a present result. But I can't use present perfect with yesterday. I have eaten an apple yesterday. Wait, what does that have to do with today? Nothing. Yesterday's already done. So it has nothing to do with the present, which is why you can't use present perfect. Now, that was a good explanation. Yes, finally. So, you also need to use present perfect in life experience. So here's another example of this. When we talk about a life experience, I'm looking at where I want to write this. So for life experiences, move my eraser and I have a little bit of space. I might write it down at the bottom. Yep. So like, let's say, here we go, unfinished, life experiences. So life experience, what is an experience? Experience is I forgot. I knew this in Hungarian once. Here's another thing. If you want to look it up. Experience. This is the part where you guys would tell me, and then I'd be like, yes, that's the word. And right now you're not here to help me with that, so I can't sit there and be like, yes, that's it. Experience is Elmean. I have to Elmean. I think that's experience. Okay, whatever. So, your life experience. Sometime in your life, obviously. If the person is living. And this is the key here. When we use past simple versus present perfect. Life experience is if they are alive. Still alive. If the person is dead. Right? So here's the line for life experience. I know that's a really straight line. Let's just try that again. Here we go. So, for example, if you are still living, obviously you can use present perfect. Well, I have been to Greece because I am alive. But if I was talking about my grandfather, who is no longer alive, He was in Greece. He has been to Greece. That'd be kind of weird. It's like, well, yeah, he has been to Greece, but he's dead. So you don't do that. You use this when you're talking about people who are still alive. Oh, hello. And I'm going to add a link for you guys that's really good. The link is going to help you understand this. But, for example, my brother has been to Mexico 3 times. Well, obviously, if my brother was alive, which I don't have a brother, but whatever, then you would use has been, present perfect. I would use past simple. My grandma or grandfather went to Mexico 3 times. See how that works? So I have been to Greece. My grandfather went to Greece. And then he never came back. I don't know. So this is a very kind of confusing one. But when somebody's dead, you obviously need to use past simple. When you're still alive, you're going to be using the present perfect. Next up, we're going to talk about the unfinished action. Or excuse me, the finished action with a result in the present. Sorry. So you have the same thing right here. Previous action with a present result. So the example is, I've bought Mr. B some dry red wine. Here we go. Let's use this example. I've given Mr. B some dry red wine. You could say bought, given, whatever. I've given Mr. B some dry red wine. Well, this is unfinished which is why I have a 5 in his class. But this is happening right now, right? What if I said a test last week? And you're like, well, I gave Mr. B dry red wine, which is why I got a 5 in his on his test last week. Do you see how last week changed it? Because I added last week, now it's going to be in simple tense. But if I don't have last week, if I was talking about the present, as in like today, because the 5 goes on until today. Ez az ötös, ez az átlag, jegy, ez mostantól. So it's from now on, or up until now, I should say. And then mostantól is eddig. So it's up until now. But if I had a test last week and I said, okay, the tests are in, I'm about to give you the grades, and then this guy's sitting back being like, yeah, I got nothing to worry about, he's not nervous. And you're like, why are you not nervous? You know, this was a really hard test. So you're like, oh yeah, I gave Mr. B some dry red wine. Therefore, I know I got a 5. And I look, and sure enough, that person didn't get a 5. All right, so whatever. This is a finished action with a result in the past. Another example of this, and this is from the website that I'm going to recommend to all of you. I've lost my keys. Obviously, if I've lost my keys, I'm telling you this in present perfect. I have lost my keys because it affects right now. I can't get into my house. I've lost my keys. Or if I said, I lost my keys last week, but now I've made a copy. Well, now I'm just telling you what happened last week. It's telling you a story, so it's in simple tense. It's not in present perfect, because it has nothing to do with right now. Does this make sense? I don't know. I hope so. The other one is, of course, we already talked about this, the unfinished time words. So you guys know this, finished and unfinished time words. So I've seen, who can I talk about? Aggie, or Titkanda. I've seen Aggie this week. Yeah, can you believe that? I've seen the secretary this week because she's here right now. I just saw her. But notice how I just saw her. Just éppen most. I have just seen her. Ooh, wow, this is confusing. Why did I say saw? I've just seen her. I just saw her. I just saw her. Oh, because I switched it into past simple. Wow. It's amazing. When I really think about this stuff grammatically and how I would say it, you really find a lot of mistakes that native speakers make. Huh. Interesting. I wish this wasn't on video. All right. So anyways, I have seen Aggie this week because remember, this week. I saw Aggie last week. So that is present perfect versus past simple. This is a hard concept, if you couldn't tell. There's going to be a lot of homework assignments in your book that deal with this. I think some of you have already done several of them. Just to look at this, section 5. Are we in section 5? No, we're in section 6. Just kidding. So, whoa, hello. Section 6 has a lot of this. I'm not even looking at the right book. I'm looking at the purple book, not the green book. Whatever. I know there is stuff in there that practices this. There will be a bunch of this on the test, so you guys definitely need to know it. Here's what I'm going to do for you. Instead of doing the book stuff, which I think you have already done, I want you to go to my favorite site. I'm going to find the worksheets. Here they are. There are some worksheets that you guys are going to have to do. Let me show you if you can see this. Wow, you cannot. What does that look like for you? Maybe you can see it. It looks kind of weird because of the reflections. But anyways, you guys know this website, this weird, ugly-looking woman. Perfect English Grammar is one of my favorite places. There's going to be some worksheets that you will do for homework. Your homework is to do the worksheets. You guys know. I'm going to give you a 5 no matter what. So there's no point in cheating. Just try. Screenshot what you made. Maybe you have 20 errors. Maybe you have 1 mistake. It doesn't matter how many mistakes you make. As long as you do it, you get a 5. The point is practice. Doing these is going to help you figure out the difference between these two, past simple and present perfect. That's why I assign the homework. That's why I give you a 5 for doing it, because I just want you to practice. So please, please, please try it out. Don't just go through and just click whatever you want and get them all wrong. I will give you a 1 for that. If I can tell you're not even trying, you get a 1. It's a 1. So try, and you might learn something. On that note, goodbye.